What if you could stack mountains like Lego? This question comes from a place of pure chaos. Imagine waking up one day, walking outside, and seeing someone casually lifting Mount Everest with one hand and placing it on top of Mount Kilimanjaro like it was a building block from a toy set. No cranes, no cables, just pure mountain stacking madness. Let's suppose, for some reason, gravity, physics, and common sense all decided to take a day off. In this world, mountains aren't massive, immovable objects anymore. They're modular, detachable, and stackable. You can lift them like Lego bricks, no matter how gigantic they are. It's fun until someone builds a mountain so tall it pokes a hole in the stratosphere. So, what would happen if you could really do this? First, let's talk about weight, or rather, how we're now completely ignoring it. The average mountain, like Mount Fuji, weighs over 100 trillion kilograms. Normally, stacking two of those would result in a catastrophic geological pancake. Landslides, earthquakes, the works. But in this scenario, you can just plop them on top of each other like nothing happened. No tectonic rumbling, no screaming goats, just clean clicks. The obvious first thing people would do? Build the tallest mountain in the world. Everest? Too short. Let's stack Everest on Everest, twice. Boom, double Verest. But why stop there? Let's add Denali, Elbrus, Aconcagua, maybe even Olympus Mons if we're importing mountains from Mars. Eventually, you'd end up with something like Mega Mountain X, tall enough to need a boarding pass just to reach the summit. But here's where it gets weird. The atmosphere isn't endless. The higher you go, the thinner the air gets. At about 8,000 meters, the so-called death zone, humans can barely breathe. Our mega mountain would reach well beyond that. At a certain point, your climbers would need spacesuits instead of hiking boots. And helicopters? Forget it. They can't fly that high. You'd need rockets to reach base camp. And that's just the people problem. What about the Earth? All this mountain stacking adds insane amounts of pressure to the crust beneath. Sure, we're pretending the mountains are weightless when moved, but once stacked, that pressure has to go somewhere. The Earth's crust might start cracking under the strain. Earthquakes could ripple out like cosmic belly aches. Continental drift might speed up, just to shake off the weight. And then there's the issue of climate. Mountains affect weather. They're like giant walls that tell clouds where to go. Stack enough of them together, and you'd create the mother of all weather patterns. Imagine one side of Mega Mountain getting endless blizzards, while the other side becomes a dry desert wasteland. Rivers would reroute. Wind currents would spiral. You could unintentionally invent new climates. Congratulations. You just made a snow tornado. Also, animals. Entire ecosystems live on specific mountains. If you move Mount Roraima to the top of the Alps, for example, what happens to the rare plants and frogs that live only there? Do they freeze, migrate, start a petition? Mountain stacking would probably lead to mass ecological confusion. You'd have snow leopards trying to hang out with tropical parrots, and both would be very disappointed. Oh, and don't forget international borders. You just lifted a whole mountain range and stacked it somewhere else. Now, 3 countries are very confused and probably very angry. Mountains often are the borders. Remove one and you might accidentally start a war. Hey, where did our defensive high ground go? Sorry, we're building a stairway to the moon. But okay, let's dream bigger. Let's stack every mountain on Earth into one colossal tower. Mount Earth Stack. If you put together all the major mountains, one on top of the other, you'd get a peak roughly 200 kilometers high. That's way past the Kármán line, the official boundary of space. You've created the first naturally artificial space elevator. Need to launch a satellite? Just climb the stairs and drop it off. But be careful. At that height, Earth's gravity isn't as strong. The top of Mount Earth Stack might actually start drifting away, pulled more by the moon than by Earth. The mountain might break off, float into orbit, and become Earth's second satellite. Congratulations, we now have a pet rock the size of the Himalayas circling our planet. And if a chunk of it falls, goodbye, city. Still, there's something beautiful in this madness. Humans have always wanted to reach higher, to build towers, climb peaks, touch the sky. If we could stack mountains like Lego, maybe we would. Maybe we'd build an Earth monument so tall you could see it from Mars. Or maybe we just make a giant smiling face out of volcanoes because someone on the internet thought it would be funny. Either way, stacking mountains like Lego would be a geologist's nightmare, a climber's dream, and an architect's wildest fantasy.